If you like football's the place for you. Just make sure that you stay tuned.
Hello, welcome back to show number 4 out of 5, the penultimate show. It's a Saturday, and as ever, I am joined by my co-host, Nick and Harry.
Hello, Cameron.
Hello.
Monday, starting the week again.
We've made the weekend. Looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it in 5 days.
Can we
recording this on Monday?
Can we stop that? We know. Yes, this is being recorded on a Monday, but this is going out on a Saturday. That's why I'm saying it's a Saturday show. So please, can we forget about it being a Monday? Let's just pretend it's a Saturday.
Okay, what do you think of the Champions League results yesterday?
Wow, it was very good actually. But we're not here to talk about the Champions League. Remember to like and subscribe, by the way. Today we'll be talking about one good player from the Premier League this season or last season, however you want to put it, and one flop of the season or worst player of this player for each club in the Premier League. So, who would like to start?
Nick, would you like to start with Liverpool, the top team this season?
Yeah, sure. Should I go for the best first?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a number of players you could pick, obviously, but I'm gonna still just keep backing Jordan Henderson. I think he's been a real leader, obviously, for this title-winning team. But I think often his quality just on the ball this season is underrated, and off the ball as well. I think people say his mentality and his drive and his leadership is what makes him so good. I think just on the ball and off the ball, he's also just a good player.
But what makes him this season better than Wijnaldum?
What, better than Wijnaldum?
Yeah.
Have you seen us play?
What's he done that's different to Wijnaldum?
Okay, look at just if we're going pure stats,
Yeah.
look at goals and assists. He tops Wijnaldum both of them.
I think Wijnaldum's got 4 goals. I think Henderson's got
Okay, four
3 or 4.
goals, five assists for Henderson as well.
Yeah, I mean Henderson had a good season, but the likes of Alexander-Arnold for me. Wijnaldum, I was just saying that because he's a midfielder, but Alexander-Arnold miles ahead of Henderson this season, in my opinion.
I mean, that's your opinion. It's wrong, but it's your opinion, and I respect that. But if I had to say a bad player as well, just Lovren. Sorry, Dejan.
Okay.
He's left now, but he didn't play much. But when he did,
What about
wasn't that
Firmino?
great.
Firmino's played almost every game.
I mean, if you want to
Only
talk
9
about
goals.
if you want to talk about disappointing player, that's a different thing to talking about a bad player.
What about players? Let's just say players that have played the majority of the games. Who's been the worst one? It's got to be either Fabinho at times or Firmino.
Okay, Fabinho definitely not.
Before the lockdown, he was a bit iffy.
Yeah, but before December he was fantastic.
Okay,
So
Cameron.
Best and worst player. There's not really a worst player in that Liverpool team, but I just feel like Shaqiri. He was just like, only 3 stars, 1 goal, like full star. I think people just forgot about him existing at Liverpool, to be honest.
Klopp forgot about him. Maybe that's why he didn't play the matches.
But don't get me wrong. He wasn't. I wouldn't say he was a flop. He wasn't the worst player. He was just forgotten. People didn't remember he
If we're
played
going
for
to talk about people that have been forgotten, what about Nathaniel Klein? Because he hasn't played all season. He's been a part of the squad, but
no one cares about him because they've got.
He wears the number 2 shirt still.
Yeah, but
calm down, Cameron.
if I were to say a best player, it could be the whole team, to be honest. But if I were to pick one man, Salah, Mane, Firmino,
That's not
If I
one
was to
man.
pick one man, lists 3.
Van Dijk, it's
Why is Firmino up there? Firmino's got like 9 goals all season.
yeah, but it's impossible. I'm not even going to pick a best player because they were all good, in my opinion. If I were to pick one man, it would either have to be Sadio Mane
It's not one man.
or Mo Salah.
And that one man would be...
Probably it's difficult.
Okay, I'm not going to decide. Let's move on. I'm going to speed up here, so let's do...
Should we do Arsenal quickly?
No. Let's go down the table. So let's start with
Bournemouth.
2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
literally
Let's
down the
have all
table.
those into one. So let's say the best player from those 3 clubs this season. So City, Chelsea, Man United. Who's been the best one? Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne is the obvious one.
Yeah,
but we've
it's
got
the-
others like
it's the
Bruno
right one.
Fernandes.
It's the right one.
from each of them.
Just,
Or just-
from the whole.
From the whole thing. Yeah, I mean Kevin De Bruyne is a lot of
Okay,
people's
what about
player
the
of
worst
the season.
player then? The most
But-
disappointing one we've got. For me, Fred is up there. Dan James is up there. Dan James just about triumphs for me. Is the worst.
So for this from 2nd to 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe him. I think Ben Mendy has been poor for City this season as well.
I'd also like to point out Callum Hudson-Odoi hasn't played much, but when he has played, been really, really poor as well.
Yeah, fair
Okay,
enough.
so now let's move on to the 5th to 10th place side. Let's pick one from these. So that's what? 5th place was Leicester, and then we got Spurs, Wolves, Arsenal, Sheffield United, and Burnley. So let's pick out a couple from those sort of 6 teams who have really stood out this season.
I'd like to go for the English keepers, Pope and Henderson. I think obviously they've been on most people's radar this season, but they have really been fantastic for their respective
Yeah.
teams. Obviously Pope almost winning the Golden Glove.
Can I just talk about Leicester?
You can.
Yeah. Who else would it be for best player other than Jamie Vardy? Where would Leicester be without Jamie Vardy? They're just top golden boot winner. There's that, and worst player again. It's a tricky one because not all of them have been. They've all been pretty poor. Well, not
David
all.
Luiz. It's got to be David Luiz, surely.
We're talking about Leicester here. I'm talking about Leicester.
Oh, okay.
It could be anyone in at Leicester team.
Damari Gray.
Damari Gray, Kelechi, and
You say everyone's been poor. What's he talking about?
I was talking about good people.
Yeah, but
that-
you just said that picking Leicester, that there's a number of people because they've all been poor.
No, I meant they've been all good. It's really hard
Okay.
to pick out a poor person.
Okay, my bad.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But again, it's a tricky one. Who would you say has a poor player at Leicester?
Iusi Perez, maybe. He's been up and down in terms
He
of...
scored a hat trick against South, but again, that's one off.
Their whole starting 11's
Kelechi
just...
Iheanacho maybe.
No, he's been good when he's played. Their whole starting 11's just done pretty well this season for a team of Leicester's size.
Should we move on to Arsenal now?
Well, yeah, let's do
Best
as we said,
player
the
of-
5th to 10th teams, a couple of
Where,
the
where
best
do we
players.
where do we get up to?
We're just doing all of them, but we're not going down from 5th to 10th. It's just
Okay.
the collective. So we've got David Luiz. Surely he's got to be in the
Pepe
bottom
as
two.
well. Has to be Pepe.
Really?
Yeah. He.
What about Ozil?
Oh no, Ozil. He hasn't. We haven't seen.
18 appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists.
Let's not mention him, to be honest. I don't really like him anymore.
Wow.
And that's surely because of his poor season. Really,
Yeah, but
really
I wouldn't
poor
say he's
season.
been a flop. He hasn't been a flop of the season.
Just because he's a flop at every season. So we're just used to it nowadays.
No, because he was.
Set
he
that
is.
standard. Doesn't go below it.
Should we just say the best player for Arsenal has been Aubameyang, without question?
So
Oh yes.
a couple of players from that 5th to 10th. Aubameyang's got to be up there. Jamie Vardy, Raul Jimenez as well, maybe.
Yeah.
You mentioned the goalkeepers. What about this guy that won Sheffield United Player of the Year, Chris Basham? What do you think of his season?
I think
Yeah.
he's had a really good season, obviously, but that Sheffield United back line and sort of just whole team, it's very much a system team. They've got no individuals, and
Yeah.
I think you could probably pick out a lot of any of those back three centre backs and say that they've had a great season.
Okay, let's think about Burnley now. Burnley, you mentioned Pope, probably
Yeah.
the same as Sheffield United in terms of haven't got many individuals apart from Dwight McNeil, who's been really good, but their whole collective team is just a great unit and really solid. Okay, let's move on now down to the bottom half of the table, so 11th to 17th. So we're talking about teams like Southampton, Everton, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa stayed up in
Brighton.
the end, Brighton and West Ham. So
For Brighton, I would have to say Ali Reza Jahanbash. I'm
Why?
afraid.
He's been really good or really bad?
I mean,
Really bad.
He scored goal of the month, but apart from
Yeah.
that, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
has he? But
I
to
would-
be fair, like Ozil, he hasn't got the game time, so you can't expect him to do well if he's on the bench.
Yes, but people, when he played in Holland, people were saying he's really, 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 really good. And he came to Brighton. Graham Potter hasn't used him. I don't think Graham Potter even started him yet. Didn't even start him last season, if I'm not mistaken. He used him as a sub a couple
Yeah,
of
'cause
times.
he's been there for 2 seasons now, hasn't he?
1.5, I think.
No, 2. He joined in the summer.
Did he? But he just hasn't been. I think he's going to be leaving the club this summer.
Okay, well, the obvious team who do tend to have quite a lot of flops always is Newcastle. So I think with
Newcastle,
Joel Linton this
yeah.
season, 2 goals. Andy Carroll, no goals. He was a new signing. Muto, no goals. And Dwight Gale, 3 or 4 goals, I think, maybe 4
yeah,
goals.
he's been a lot better since lockdown.
Yeah, but if that's their strikers, I mean, obviously one of the one of the most impressive players has been Alan Saint-Maximin, who they signed.
Oh God, yeah,
He's a brilliant
he's been
player,
top
but
class.
in terms of their whole team, they do seem to sign a lot of flops. Like Danny Rose, they signed him, and he's been really, really poor since January, I think. So surely Joelinton's in the bottom two in terms of worst players in that bottom half of the table.
Yeah, he has to be. Especially because of the price tag, £40 million, their record signing from Hoffenheim. It'll be interesting to see if he can rejuvenate his career, if he'll leave or not in the summer. I don't know, but yeah, he's been really poor, and it's been. I think if Newcastle had a goal scorer, they'd be top half of the table quite comfortably.
And are there any other players that stand out in that bottom half as being really, really poor, as well as Joelinton?
I think this is maybe not one that you'd expect to hear, but Gylfi Sigurdsson's really underperformed this season for Everton, because he did have some good seasons for them in the past, but this season he's been really poor. A big part of why Everton have underperformed this season, despite the good form of Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin.
Sticking with Everton, I mentioned it on the radio a couple of weeks ago, but they signed Iwobi and Moise Kean for a combined 80 million. Those two players have flopped, I think, more than anyone apart from Joelinton.
Moise, yeah.
Kean and Iwobi have been so poor. Especially Iwobi, who's played almost all the games as well.
Moise Kean, didn't he score his first goal for the club?
Second goal, I think.
Second goal, very recently. That's terrible. For a player coming from Juventus, that's poor.
But you can understand Iwobi because he's come from Arsenal, not as much.
He was really good at Arsenal, but then he just lost his.
Was he that good?
He was pretty good.
He was not that good.
You ripped Everton off there for 40 million?
I think we did.
Okay, let's talk about the best players now. So Danny Ings, obviously, 22 goals, an unbelievable season for him. No one expected it either. Any others? We mentioned Saint-Maximin already. Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin have been good. Any others that stand out from those bottom half clubs? Palace haven't really got anything.
I think Jordan Ayew's had a pretty good season.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing out of this world, but he's been probably their best player.
What about Jack Grealish?
Jack Grealish, obviously he's had a good season, but a bit disappointing since lockdown, but obviously a massive part of why they stayed up. I think if we're talking Aston Villa, Trezeguet also deserves a mention.
Yes.
He's scored some really crucial goals for them this season. But yeah, no one that special.
Yeah, Trezeguet's really worked his way into the team as well, from being a sub to a starter. Let's move on to the bottom three then. So, one player from the bottom three who's stood out despite their team getting relegated, and one player from a team that's got relegated that's just completely fallen off the cliff this season. Awful. So the best player, we've got Bournemouth, we've got Norwich, and we've got Watford. Who do you think?
The best player? It's hard for the teams down here, but maybe just someone like Ramsdale. Maybe he's probably been Bournemouth's best player of the season. He's saved them on a number of occasions.
What about Todd Cantwell? He's impressed.
Todd Cantwell has also impressed. I think he's one of the many Norwich players whose form dropped off significantly after the first couple months of the season. But I guess he's been one of the more consistent
performance he had against
ones.
City. That was really
I do remember it.
Really
but like I said, loads of players were good against City that day.
That's the game at Carrow Road when they won 3-2, not when they lost at Etihad, I believe.
I mean, for me, I think Ben Foster has been up there as well as a brilliant goalkeeper for Watford. They'd be right down there with Norwich if it wasn't for him performing so well. And Ismaila Sarr as well. He's had some good games and spells like that one.
Yeah, if he can get some consistency, then he could be a really good Premier League winger.
Okay, let's talk about the worst one then. So there's so many, of course. For me, Norwich, Max Aaron's the right back, Ben Godfrey the centre back. Pukki's been rubbish since the first couple of months, but just because he was so good, I can't really include him there. Bournemouth had so many. Solanke, Jordan Ibe, the list just goes on. Watford, Deeney's been really poor.
Yeah.
Messina and for many of the fullbacks have been awful. There's so many to choose from.
Yeah, it's hard to pick one. I mean, they're the bottom three for a reason, but I think it would probably have to go to a Norwich player, like you said, one of the defenders. I think overall, Tim Krul has been really good.
Yeah.
I think I forgot to mention him earlier. He's been one of the main reasons why they haven't conceded so much, because their defence has been awful.
And Cameron, just a final point from Norwich. Which player would you say has been the really poor one? So bottom of the bottom, like the worst player from bottom of the table.
Who's that striker?
What
They
about
have,
the
like Durmic or
Oh yeah,
something.
Durmic. He's been awful for a former Champions League player. What about the two midfielders, Tetty and McLean, because they've been really poor as well. The whole team actually is just.
I didn't watch much of Norwich, to be honest. Probably. Petty,
Yeah,
Drimich.
there's so many, and even the manager's been really poor. Daniel Farker, really poor season from him, and I won't be surprised if he gets sacked in the summer.
I've just got a stat here saying Drimich only scored 1 goal and 0 assists in the entire 2018-19-20 season.
I think
What a player.
if Farker isn't sacked
Dreadful.
in the summer, he will be sacked within a few months of the new season if Norwich aren't in that top 6. Okay,
will.
well that comes to the end of today's Saturday show.
Yeah, I hope
if you've
you
got
enjoyed that one.
any more suggestions for the best or worst players from those clubs,
Yeah,
put in
drop
the
them
comments.
in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and we shall see you tomorrow on Sunday for the very final show of the week and the series. So take care, remember to like and subscribe. It's goodbye from us 3 here, and we shall see you tomorrow, and have a lovely rest of the day.